Okay, so the actual phases of training, we've talked a lot about what each component is. Now the actual phases of training, there are 7. We have 5 basic phases that we stick with, and then we have 2 specialized phases that we all coach our clients with. Phase number 1 is what we call stabilization endurance training, where basically it's purely, when we're looking at stabilization training, there's one phase of stabilization training, and it's just stabilization. All the different things that we've covered on what stabilization is, there's just one phase of training that just particularly covers that, and it's what we consider stabilization endurance training, which helps improve muscular imbalances, improve stabilization of the core. We get into preventing tissue overload and preparing the body for more activity, and we improve cardiovascular conditioning and improve neuromuscular efficiency along with the appropriate movement patterns and the improvement of inter and intramuscular coordination. Phase 2 is what we call strength endurance. So it's more of getting into a lot of the, when you're in strength training, there's 3 phases within strength training. The first phase is strength endurance, which is a combination of stability and strength training. So strength training, we do more load, we do more volume. We, with our core training, it's more of an emphasis on load and range of motion. We use more load out of the weight because our body is now more conditioned, more volume. There's greater metabolic demand and greater motor unit recruitment like we talked about. It's just in phase 1, strength endurance, it's a combination of using principles from stabilization training and strength training. Phase 3 is just hypertrophy training, which is pure strength training. It's putting greater load, greater volume on the body, trying to increase skeletal muscle, and it's your typical 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. That's what almost everyone does. The 4th phase is what we call maximal strength training, and that is very similar to very similar to hypertrophy training. It's just more load, more volume, more weight, less reps, and that's purely more like traditional powerlifting training. And then finally, phase 5 is power training, and that is it's a combination. Power training has one phase, and it's a combination of doing maximal strength training with power training, where we're increasing force and velocity to through different ranges of motion. I guess would be the different way of saying, through different planes of motion. And that's obviously going to be more for like what an athlete would do. And then finally, we have 2 specialized phases. We have our first specialization is corrective exercise, which is purely improving muscular imbalances. People that are deconditioned or having really difficulties training first should go through corrective exercise to improve any sort of pain that they may be having. We work in conjunction with a doctor to make sure that that is done appropriately. But that is corrective exercise training, which purely corrects muscular imbalances. And then finally, maximal power training is purely, it's not a combination of strength and power, it's purely power, it's purely force, it's purely velocity. It's all speed-oriented training. And a couple things that I want to mention really quick just to think about the training once again is when you're doing stabilization, there's less load, there's less volume, there's more time under tension, the tempo is much, much slower, and you're focusing purely on core, posture, balance, and so forth. And then in the power-oriented training, it's very, very fast, it's very speed-oriented, but I think the main thing for us to keep in mind is then in the middle, obviously, is a combination of the 2 where it's kind of more load, but not maybe as fast. So as the intensity increases, the overall speed of the repetitions, that also decreases as well. And another thing too that we really recommend to a lot of our clients when we start working with them is when we're training, putting them through training, that we also start to vary the planes of motion as well. You can't do just one plane of motion. We do vary the planes of motion, we vary the stability, we vary all of that, and get it into a very systematic oriented type of training. So I hope this really answers some questions, give you a basic overview of how we split up the training and how training should be. And of course, when you work with us individually, we can lay that out and map it out for you very, very easily. So I really appreciate you joining us today, and I hope that you have a great day.
When you feel that something's wrong, I'll shelter you and keep you warm. I'll never let you walk alone.